Travis Harvey from Oz Harvest is joining me today, and we're going to be making beautiful phyllo pastry parcels.
Yeah, this is actually a beautiful way. Use up any leftovers, encase it in this beautiful fresh pastry, and it's just so easy and versatile to use.
Sounds good. Now you're going to put a fancier twist on it.
I have fancified it somewhat. So we're actually going to smoke some Labneh. This Labneh is just some yogurt which has been strained overnight to take a bit of the extra water out of it.
Sure.
These are wood chips which have been soaked overnight again. Hickory, apple, more or less anything will do. That you can be more specific for other smoking uses, but this is more or less anything that you have on hand.
Yep.
Okay.
So essentially what we're doing is imparting a lovely smoky flavour into the yogurt that's been strained.
Yeah, it just adds a bit of extra flavour to it, makes it a bit different.
And dairy actually takes on the smoky flavour.
Yeah, and that's ready to go. And that's just all about the fat content. So fat does take on smoky flavours really, really well. And while we do the rest of this beautiful dish, that'll do its magic thing.
Great.
So there it is. Okay, so beautiful vegetarian filling. We have Siverbeet here. I've got some onion diced and ready to go, but what I'd like is to use these Siverbeet stems. People often throw them out, but they're delicious and they're going to be incorporated into this. So if you can dice them about the same size as that onion, and after that shred the leaves, that would be fantastic.
Right.
Okay, so I'm going to make this Korean chili flake oil. These chili flakes are beautiful. They've got a really nice sweet flavour to them. We're just going to start with some grapeseed oil, which is a very neutral oil. Got about a cup of that. We're going to bring it up to a temperature that isn't going to burn the sesame seeds, and it's not going to burn the chili flakes as well. This oil looks good. It stopped shimmering, so I'm going to make sure there's the right temperature here.
Okay.
Just give it a couple of chili flakes in there, and they're sizzling away, so it is hot enough.
Yep.
That means it's ready for all of this to go in there. Isn't that cool?
Looks very cool.
Add the sesame seeds in there as well. And then a little bit of this garlic.
Smells so good.
Now that I have taken the flame off that.
Yeah.
So that's just really just cooking those ingredients through.
Okay, so I've got the rib of the Siverbeet finely chopped up for you, Chef.
Great. Perfect. Same size as the onion. So I'm going to get that sautéing. Get this flame on here.
And this you wanted shredded?
Yeah, shredded, nice and fine. That's going to go through the pastry. Okay. Good amount of oil. I don't use any butter in this. Quite often you're using phyllo pastry and you use butter to add a bit of depth to it. There's quite a lot of dairy in the ricotta, obviously, and I find the oil really works for this crispy outside finish.
Usually when I'm using phyllo pastry, I bake it in the oven, but you're going to show us a different technique.
Well, one of the things about using this to use up leftovers is you can open a pack of phyllo pastry, use 6 or 8 sheets. You don't have to make a whole batch. You don't have to make a whole tray. You use what's left over and then you just go from there. So, okay, I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of salt into this, get it seasoning straight away, and we can add those stems.
Stems go in. They've oxidised a little bit by the time we fry them. We won't even know.
We won't even know. Great, so that's starting to soften. While it does that, if you can get those leaves and just put that into the ricotta there, we're just going to add the lemon zest and the lemon juice as well.
Nice.
You see how all these elements are coming together to have, you have a bit of spice from the oil, smokiness and creaminess from the Labneh, and then these beautiful fresh flavours for the filling.
Okay, there's the zest and a squeeze of juice in the same bowl.
Squeeze of juice straight into there. And then we're going to get our hands dirty shortly. So while it starts to cook down, I might get this pastry out.
So Oz Harvest have partnered up with Antonio Phyllo Pastry.
Antonio have been a super great sponsor for us in our Fight Food Waste campaign. They've created recipes around using up leftovers to create delicious dishes, much like this one, and helped us to get the message out there about fight food waste.
And we're not going to be using all of our phyllo pastry today, but you can store it in the fridge, just pop it back into the plastic wrap and you can use it for something else.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it is a fresh pastry that you buy from the fridge, so it does hold really well.
And when you are using phyllo pastry like this, it's always best just to keep it moist by...
Which I have right here.
What teamwork, look at that. And that'll just ensure that it doesn't break up when you're folding it.
All right. So what I'm going to start to do is to create these outside pastries. This is ready to go. I'm just going to sprinkle a couple of fennel seeds in there and get the little bit of flavour out of that.
Sure.
And the garlic is the last stage.
Nice. Fennel seeds, Siverbeet, onion, phyllo pastry.
Okay.
Nice.
So that garlic is in. A couple of moments, cook it really gently, and that is ready to go into that mixture there.
Okay.
I'll give you that.
Thank you. It smells so good with that garlic in there.
And the fennel just gives it something else as well.
Okay.
Now onto the fillo. This is really easy. I mean, pastry is something that can be a little bit intimidating. You've got this beautiful product here, and you don't have to melt butter, you don't have to do any of that sort of stuff. All I'm going to do is create a little encasing with this pastry, olive oil to bind it. You don't need too much. It's really just to stick it together.
And I've just taken liberty to put a little salt and pepper in there. Are you
As
okay with that, Chef?
Thank you, Chef. Okay, so getting these on here. About 4 layers. It depends on what you're doing.
Yeah.
If you've got a pretty wet mixture, you can use a little bit more, but I find 4 cooks quite quickly in the pan. It's probably about 2.5 to 3 minutes on each side. So these are ready. So I'm being a bit rustic. I don't mind about the edges meeting up because you do get a lovely crispiness from the single bits that are overhanging here. But I've got 2 pretty much ready to go. Do you want to put some filling in there? So what I usually do is just run it down the middle and give it a good amount. I mean, you want to bite into these and really taste it. So if you can just spread that out to the top edge, I'll get a pan on, a great non-stick pan. So I'll just put a tiny bit of oil for colour in this, but we don't want these greasy. It's just going to be lovely and crispy. A little bit there. Honestly, just a touch. And then I'll fold this over.
Okay.
Press it down. That's really ready to go.
Oh,
I mean,
so you don't even tuck it or anything like that?
You can do that, but I love how simple this is and how little skill, I suppose, is required to make something completely delicious.
A real take on the Turkish gozleme.
Yes, yes, that's exactly what it's like. Yeah.
All right, well, let's cook a few of these and then we can start plating it up. I can't wait to try this with that smoked yogurt and the chili oil. Just fantastic flavours.
Great.
Nice one.
Okay.
Trav, these look fantastic. Phyllo gozleme.
Yeah, simple to make.
Very good.
And ready to plate.
All right.
So let's do it.
Ooh.
Now, it doesn't look different, but you can smell that straight away.
I'm gonna have a smell.
Beautiful.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and those chips actually did work really well for that.
Yeah, it smells fantastic. I mean, you don't want it to be so overly smoked that that's all you're tasting. It's just a subtle...
Delicate.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So this is nice and thick. Look at that. Just unctuous, as they say. So we're going to put a little bit of that on the plate.
Okay.
And how this works really well, because of that sort of thickness of it, we can make a little divot in there and then add our delicious chili oil.
Chef showing off.
So I do like to really go to the bottom of this, where the chili flakes have soaked up some of that oil and thickened up a little bit. You get this beautiful sort of colour popping out of it. And as I said, they're not too hot, but they're just adding a whole lot of beautiful flavour to that. So you can just dip your gozleme straight into there.
That looks sensational already.
All right. Now, if we're going to share, we better cut one of these in half.
All right.
All right.
And because they are only folded over, you just want to be quite careful.
Hear that crunch?
It's a good sound.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Knife and fork each.
Okay.
I want to dig in. Crunchy phyllo. And the ricotta. And these beautiful flavours of the pepper oil and the labneh.
Right?
Right.
Delicious.
It is absolutely delicious. I love how the phyllo pastry took no time at all to cook in the pan.
Yep.
The creaminess and the slight smokiness from that labneh is sensational. And the rest of that chili oil, that's coming home with me. I absolutely love that. Good on you. That's so good. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
No, second round.